This is Tim Willis, and today I'm going to do a short video showing you how to create a gradient effect on a button in ClickFunnels 2.0. All right, we have this project I'm working on. It's kind of just get started on that. And I have this button here that's styled according to the settings in the style guide, and I'm going to change that. So let's click on the settings for the button. It brings up our button element. And we want to come down to the section that says button style. Now you can set this up in the style guide, but since this is a one-off, I'm just going to go ahead and use the override and do it manually. And it's going to be pretty much the same thing, except you wouldn't be overriding if you're setting it up in style guide. I'm going to click on override. That's going to bring up my button states. You remember there's three button states you have to deal with. And we see it's the default blue color there that's coming from the style guide. So I want to change the colors up some. So I am going to come to Coolors.io where I've already got a palette set up. And I am going to click on the first color, go to custom, set that color in there, and it's changed to that color. Once that's happened, I can click on the other two states, click on the color, and just click on the color at the upper left-hand corner, which is the most recently used color. And the same thing for the press state. Okay, so while I'm here, I'm going to also go ahead and choose this other color here, and we will put that in for the text. I don't know if that's going to be color I use eventually, but just to demonstrate how things work, we change that color. Now we go to hover, choose the text color, choose the most recently used color, and the same thing for the default. Click on the text color and choose the most recently used color. So far so good, but that still doesn't get us a gradient. Now, the way I generally do this is I leave the default to solid color and the pressed to solid color. Some people like to make the pressed color a little darker color. I'm not going to do that on this video, but if you want to, you can. But the hover is generally where I'll use a gradient. So we'll choose the hover state, choose our background, and it'll bring up our color palette. Right now it's set to solid. We want to change that to gradient. And once we do that, we have more stuff on the color palette. We have these two squares here, and we have these directional arrows. Now, right now, the two squares are exactly the same color. Actually, I lied there. One is black, and the other one is the color that we put in there. And so that could work. Now you can see up here, we're looking at our button. It really doesn't make much difference. It's so dark. So what we're going to do here is go back to our palette colors, and I'm going to pick this one first, even though I'm not going to use it because it's too much different from the other one, but just to demonstrate. So when we come here, we can choose one of these squares like that and plug that color in. And there you see we now have a gradient. We have the two colors. We can move the squares like that or this way. Then we can use the directional arrows to change the direction of the gradient. Now, the problem with this, to my eyes, is that there's too much variation between the two colors, and it's kind of ugly. So what I'm going to do is go back to my palette and choose a color that's closer to the original color. We'll plug it in there, and like that. Let's make it a diagonal color. And then we can also move these around as we want to vary that. Now, this is working with only two colors, but we can actually put in multiple colors here. I don't know what the maximum number of blocks you can put in there, but you can put in a few. You're going to be limited by the space of that bar there. So let's go ahead and go to our palette again. Let's go ahead and pick some white, I guess here. This is an off-white. And stick it in there just to show how that works. I'm sure it's going to look pretty awful, but you see we press that little bar there, and we have another block. This one will stick that off-white in. And now you see we have that working as well. And if we move that, it will move that color there. Now we could also take this block here and move it that way, or take this block here and move it that way. So whatever you want to do. Now, if you decide if you don't like having more than two colors there, or if you even wanted to, well, I don't know what happens if you try to, you only have two colors, you try to zap out one. I guess we'll find out real quick. But you see it has that X there. So on our white, let's go ahead and choose that X, and now it's gone. Okay, so that answers the question. That X to get rid of one of the colors only appears when you have more than two boxes. But really, that's about it. Creating gradient. That's not necessarily what I'm going to go with at the end, but it's good enough for demonstration right now. Let's go ahead and save this and go to preview, and you can see the button in action now. It's not actually hooked up to anything, but we can see what happens when we move our mouse over it in the hover state. See how it lights up with that gradient, and then when we take it off, it goes back to the standard color we have set up. That's how you can set up a gradient color on a button in ClickFunnels 2.0. The only thing I would say is my experience has been that you don't want to get the colors too far apart from each other. Otherwise, it looks kind of funky. But other than that, have fun. So this is Tim Willis. I'm a certified ClickFunnels funnel builder, and I do tutorial and demonstration videos on funnel building, web design, and all things graphics. And that's the video for now. I'll talk to you later.